How about this? Ah, I think I'm live now. How's that, guys? I noticed that there's a weird little avatar. Is my face blocked by like some kind of avatar thing? Give me a sec. Doesn't look like it in my let me see here. Technical difficulties, please bear with us. No. Okay, you guys got me. It is complaining that my internet is a little slow. Okay, let me know if my face is being blocked by the Shield Canine logo, because that's what it's showing me here. Just let me know if the picture's good, guys. All right, good. All right, I apologize for the crappy start, but we're going to get rocking and rolling. Okay, so let's talk about understanding pedigrees. I know a bunch of you guys are going to ask me questions about your dog and training and this and that, but I will ask that you bear with me. Let me get after the training side of it. Let me do the training. Let me get after the pedigree side. Let's talk about the pedigrees. Let me address the topic of this live, and then we can jump into general dog training questions, so on and so forth. All right. So here is why we need to talk about this. There are a lot of people that want to buy puppies. There are a lot of you that have bought puppies. And one of the big questions I get is, read my dog's pedigree or look at my dog's pedigree and tell me what it tells you. I don't understand this thing. This is just gobbledygook to me. This is Greek to me. So I am going to show you how to read any pedigree, how to look at any dog's lineage and make an intelligent decision as to whether or not that dog is going to suit you. And this is going to apply to literally any dog. I don't care if you've got a pet, you're looking for like a golden retriever to be your family pet, or you're looking for your next working dog, okay? This applies to literally all of them. Needless to say, I am going to use German Shepherd dogs just because I have a ton of those and I have a ton of real-world experience with those dogs, but I've dealt with tons of other breeds as well and their pedigrees, so on and so forth. So I am going to give you guys a pedigree here of a dog that I bought very recently. This is a puppy. I think she's about, I don't know, 12 weeks old now, something like this, okay? And she is a German Shepherd dog. So her pedigree is here. This is the breeding that produced her. Now, this is Working Dog, okay? Working Dog is a giant pedigree database that is in existence for Belgian Malinois and for German Shepherd primarily. The problem is that if you're buying like a Labradoodle or something like that and you're trying to look at a pedigree, you're not going to see it on here, but you'll still have a paper version. So don't worry, guys. I'm going to go over paper version pedigrees, and I'm also going to go over the online pedigrees. Now, because it's 2024, we now have these wonderful online pedigrees for dogs that, you know, have, you know, advanced lineage and record keeping, such as the Working German Shepherd. And each dog has a profile. Some of those dogs have videos and pictures attached to the profile. You know, you'll see health information, age, date of birth, date of death, all of that stuff. So when I'm looking at a pedigree of a dog, the first thing that I need to see, to decide, I should say, is what do I want the dog for? All right, well, I'm going to come at it from my perspective because that's going to help me explain this pedigree. I want the dog to be a working dog. Okay, like I want a strong female working German Shepherd as a breeding prospect. I say a breeding prospect because every puppy is a prospect. I don't care what the pedigree tells me, how good the parents were. Puppies are, to some degree, still a roll of the dice. They can be good, they can be bad, there can be health issues. You know, a lot of people want to pretend it's a factory that's stamping out, you know, just the same product every single time. They're living things. Needless to say, it doesn't always go like that. But what this does do is it allows me to stack the deck in my favor. A good pedigree with a good, strong working history and health history that I'm able to trace back for multiple generations is obviously necessary for me having success in achieving and obtaining that puppy that's going to grow into the working dog that I want her to be, into that quality female that's going to add to my breeding program and bring all that lineage to my breeding program, bring all that power, all that drive, all that courage, all that health to my breeding program. So we're stacking the deck by looking at the pedigree. If I wanted a pet dog that was going to be, I don't know, let's say I wanted a dog to do dock diving, okay? And let's say, I don't know, what do people dock dive with? A border collie? Okay. So let's say I was going to look at border collies for dock diving. Guess what I'd be doing? I'd be looking at that pedigree, and I'd be looking back in the pedigree. I'd be saying, okay, were the parents healthy? How long did the parents live? Are the parents still alive? How long did the grandparents live? Are the grandparents still alive? What health testing was done on them? What did these dogs actually do? Did they do something? Did they do nothing? These are all important things that we must ask ourselves. So, needless to say, this is how we kind of go about the process. So what I'm going to do with this working dog thing, I want you to do with whatever dog it is that you're buying. You just literally change it over to what it is that you're looking for. So with this female, this is really important, okay? I bought this female. She's in my kennel right now. And by the way, her name is Snap. You can see her probably in one of my last YouTube videos, little puppy. Her name is O''Snap vom Kibitzende, okay? The reason I bought her, yeah, the pedigree played a role, but most importantly, I saw her mother and her father in action at the 2023 Canadian Nationals. And I liked both dogs. I actually liked her mother significantly more. I saw her mother, and her mother didn't have what we would call modern training, you know? So what you have to realize is there's two types of, well, there's many types of dog training, but when we're looking at IGP training, for instance, you'll see people that train more in the old school, and then you'll see people that train really in the modern way, modern methods. Modern methods make a dog more. Modern methods, when done properly, make a dog appear to be fantastic, appear to be powerful, when they're done properly. A lot of people try to do it. They can't do it very well, so they don't achieve that goal. But when they're done properly by a skilled trainer, modern training can make a dog appear to be more than what he or she is, or at least maximize the potential that dog has. Old school training takes a lot away from the dog, right? It's just basically, you must do it. I'm going to get control. Yeah, I might give you a ball sometimes. Yeah, I might give you some food sometimes, but it's old school, okay? So obviously in the last 20 years, we've moved into modern training. What I like about her mom, Pauline vom Heidoff, I saw her in at Nationals, and it was not modern training in obedience or in protection. I can't speak to tracking. She did seem to do quite well in tracking, but in obedience and protection, you could see it was not modern training, yet the dog showed me power. She showed me drive. I watched her in both phases, and I was impressed. Then I said, that's a nice bitch, and I went to her handler, Reno, and I said, Reno, I'm very interested in that female. So he sent me the pedigree. So I looked at the pedigree because I said, are you going to breed her? He said, yes, I will. Pauline vom Heidoff. So let's click Pauline. All right. When we look at Pauline, what am I going to look for? I've seen the dog in person. Now, this is really important. If you've seen the dog in person, it's not enough to say, I've seen the dog in person. The dog's fantastic. I am therefore going to have puppies from this dog. No, 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 no. She might be a one-off. She might not be the standard in the litter, right? There might be a lot of, let's say things might not be consistent. She might be one of those kind of freaks of nature, you know, where she is stronger than what her pedigree would suggest. But, and if that's the case, I don't take puppies from that, right? The pedigree's garbage. I don't want puppies from that, right? Now here I look and I see, oh, her dad is Vegas. Okay, well, Vegas is a very famous dog. We all know about Vegas. Vegas is in Massachusetts or New England right now. Okay, he was imported here for a hell of a lot of money. We know the original trainer of Vegas was Christian Mike. I have heard through reliable sources that he is a hard mofo of a trainer, a very good trainer, but a hard mofo of a trainer. So I know for a dog to do what Vegas was able to do with Christian Mike on the level that he was able to do it, that's one hell of a dog. So if you click Vegas, now let's assume I didn't know any of that. Okay, let's assume I'm like one of you guys. I didn't know any of that. All right, so I go to Vegas and I say, oh, Lennox. Okay, well that's a well-known dog, very good dog. I don't really know these dogs back in here, but now we're getting into the early 2000s, late 90s. This is well before my time. Her mother, you never know the female. Then we look in the mother line, and I don't really know any of the dogs in the mother line. Doesn't mean they weren't good dogs. I just don't personally know of them. But again, they're a little before my time. So now I look, I say, okay, Vegas though, we all know. Very famous dog, did very well on very high levels. Tons and tons of breedings. You can go down and look at all the things he's won. You can see all the points he got. USCA, AWDF, the VDH, LV America. Like, you can see all the things he did, right? The LGA in Germany. And you're like, okay, I'm getting an idea. I see this dog. Now, if I want to watch him in protection, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to click here. I'll watch the dog in protection, and then I'll watch the dog in obedience. Don't worry, guys. I'm not going to make us go ahead and watch that. And I'm just going to look for a few things. I'm going to look at the speed of the dog, the intensity of the dog, and I've been looking at enough dogs that I'm able to see the drive behavior of the dog. So you can see him running the blinds there. Let's just fast forward quickly. Uh-oh, internet's a little slow. So you can see intense barking right up on the helper. We'll go watch the, well, I'm not going to watch the whole thing here. So let me see if I can just forward. Let's see the attack out of the back transport with Vegas. You can see the drive behavior in the dog on the back transport. He's not sleeping there. That's intense. That's genetic behavior. You can see it. And I heard this dog had a hell of a gas tank on him, even though he's big. Look at the entry. Look at the grip. Look at the power. This is all very. I know that for a lot of you that haven't seen this, this doesn't look any different than the rest of it. That is certainly well above average. Okay, so that's Vegas. Let's get off Vegas. All right. So I'm able to see all the things that Vegas has done. Let me go back now. All right, that's her daddy. All right, now I look her mummy, Becky von Wolfsbank Ring. Her mother. I can go and look at her mother. Maybe I'll see some videos of her mother. And remember, I saw this bitch in person, right? So I go and I look at the mother. Is there video of the mother? Oh, there is. So sometimes there's no videos of the females. So I'll go watch her mother, just do a quick round of protection. I'll just watch one piece of it again. Usually once you've been at this for a while, you can see if a dog is good pretty quickly. But again, even if you can't, you should be able to do this. You should be able to go back in your dog's pedigree and see what the parents were doing. This is the grandmother of the puppy that I bought. And you have to be able to differentiate between bad training and a bad dog. Barking's decent. Let's watch the escape. The escape will tell me about her speed and her grip. No, yes, you have to pay for working dog to see some of the video. So it was a decent escape. All right, we're going to watch the long attack now. So for me, I just, I'll watch the whole thing. I realize you guys are not interested in watching the whole. So look at that long attack. Very nice. Very nice. I can see that the dog maybe could use a bit better training on the long attack. She didn't take a full grip on the long attack, but that's because she jumped a little early, or maybe the helper moved early. But you can see the drive behavior and the speed in the long attack, right? And you can hear the hit, right? This is, again, good dog, good bitch, all right? Now, we look at who is the mother's father. This is the grandmother of my dog, Oh Snap. Her father was Kinsky von Heidoff. Kinsky von Heidoff, everybody knows, that dog was a mofo, okay? Hard, strong, driven, really, really strong dog, okay? So now, we go back I'm not going to go, but you guys get the idea how you can look through the pedigree and you can see everything, right? You can see, oh, mommy was HDED normal. She has her IPO3 title. Again, for me, sport titles aren't actually that important. I do want to see health testing, and I would like to see a working video of the parents if I don't know the dogs in question. But we got Vegas on the top, Becky on the bottom. This is the mother of my puppy, okay? Sorry, guys, the internet's a little slow. So that's Pauline vom Heidoff. Now we look at the dad. Now, again, I saw the father of this litter. I saw the father of this litter at the 2023 Nationals. Again, in my opinion, training could be a little better. I know that he's a work in progress for Lance, and I'm sure the training will be better this year. But I was impressed with the dog in spite of the training, because I could see intensity in the dog's behavior, right? And again, here's where it gets really important. So, look at the father line. Kinsky, he appears again. So this is a 3-3 inbreeding on Kinsky. All right? That's tight inbreeding. It could be a little tighter. We could have gone 2-3 or 2-2. That would be really tight. But 3-3 is still enough that you know that a lot of those traits that was Kinsky vom Heidoff are coming through. So, now, I know that this litter is 3-3 on Kinsky. Now, that's important. A lot of people get excited about this, right? A lot of people are like, oh my God, that's inbreeding. It's bad. No, it's not. Anyone that knows anything about consistency, right, knows that it is important to have inbreeding, right? Because inbreeding sets type, as long as inbreeding is on the right individuals. So we've got a 3-3 inbreeding on Kinsky. Well, if I click Kinsky's profile, if I click his profile, I see that I believe the dog lived for 2005 to 2018. He lived for 13 years, healthy dog, okay? 42 kilograms, not small. And again, these can be a little bit off, you know. 64 centimeters tall, so he's not tiny. He was HD normal, ED normal. Okay, so we know that he's a healthy dog. He had many breedings. He had so many successes. I can watch all his videos if I want to. I can see what he looked like. I can see his drive behavior. I can see his behavior in obedience and tracking and everything else. And I have a very good idea of what this pedigree is going to be what this puppy's going to be like. Now, is she going to be a Kinsky clone? No. You're only going to get that if you actually clone the dog. But she's going to carry forward a lot of those traits, and Kinsky is going to be prepotent inside of her. So when I breed her, hopefully, as long as she passes all the appropriate testing, I'm getting this mofo coming through, right, into the next generation of dogs that I breed her to, right? So that inbreeding for me, as long as the inbreeding's on a desirable individual, is a good thing, okay? So when I look at these pedigrees, listen, if you're in your dog, your breed of dog long enough, you're going to start learning about these individual dogs. Now, there's two ways we learn about dogs. One, by seeing, that's obviously most preferable, or two, by hearing, right? Hearing or reading on the internet. Now, when you're hearing, you must take everything with a grain of salt. And who is telling you? Is it somebody you saw write something on the internet about how awesome this dog was? Or Is it something that someone who you trust and who you know isn't a bullshitter is telling you? You have to realize with all these famous dogs, with Vegas, with Kinsky, with Lennox, with all these famous dogs, Ali, right? People are going to they're going to lionize these dogs. They're going to talk only about the good or what they heard from somebody else who also heard from somebody else, not what they saw with their own eyes. If you can get your hands on someone who actually knew the dogs or saw the dogs, well, now you're getting at least a second-hand account or a first-hand account, I should say. Not, I heard from this guy who heard from that guy. Now we're playing broken telephone. And of course, you know, the dog's going to be lionized. He was the best thing since sliced bread. They're not going to tell you, you know, the dog was scared of recycling bins, right? And that's not I bring that up because there's a very famous dog that I know of who people ooh and ah over him. And he was scared of recycling bins, according to someone that I trust very much. What is the difference between line breeding and inbreeding? There is no difference. It's just like, it's fundamentally, you know, inbreeding, right? Line breeding. It's basically you're using the same individuals. They're appearing a certain amount of time. So Kinsky, if I go over here, you can see Kinsky's 3-3. So that means he's in the third generation of the Sire's pedigree and the third generation of the Dam's pedigree. Sid is 4-4. Cora is 4-4. You can see all the line breedings. Now people get worried about 5-4 and 5. For me, if it's past the third generation, I stop worrying about it because the chances of me really seeing a lot of those traits in great profusion go away. So for me, it's like someone's like, oh, he's 5'4" on Yoshi. Yeah, so is every other dog. It doesn't particularly matter. Oh, he's 5'5" on Sid. Oh, okay, whatever. You know, 3-3, 3-2, 2-2, 2-1. Oh, now we're inbreeding, boy. And now it gets interesting because now you're really going to see something. Okay, good or bad. So, I mean, when I did a podcast with Stefan, he explained it really well. When you look at breeding, because I know some of you are confused about inbreeding. Is it good? Is it bad? A lot of people think inbreeding is the reason for health issues. It is not. Okay, well, it can be for some things, but it is not just the only issue it's not the only reason for health issues. Health issues occur in all breeds, in all mutts, in everything, right? There's this idea that like if you go get some mutt from the shelter, it's going to be more healthy than your purebred dog, and I don't think there's any science that actually supports that, right? But of course, certain lines are known for health, and certain lines are not. Certain lines, like you can get German Shepherds that live 14, 15 years old. Right? And you could get German Shepherds that regularly die at 8 to 9 years of age, right? You could get German Shepherds that have very few joint issues, significant joint issues in the line. And then you can get lines that have tons of hip and elbow issues, right? Teeth issues, eye issues, all sorts of things like this, right? So when you're looking at a pedigree, you want to look here and you want to see a vision. Okay, I can look at this dog and this dog, this dog, this dog, this dog, this dog, and I can get an idea of a type, right? I can get an idea of a type when I'm doing this, and I can see, okay, well, there's a vision here. I see a vision in Pauline's pedigree. I see a vision in Keiko's pedigree. I see Keiko is, like, I'm not going to go watch the videos, guys. I actually saw the dog in person. He's a lot of dog. He's an intense dog. He's a strong dog, you know? Robbie DeJong, who judged the protection, gave him some motherfucker points. Motherfucker points are points that the dog maybe didn't necessarily earn with his performance, but he earns with his quality, right? So, you know, nice dog. I wouldn't be upset to have a puppy from him, especially when it's a 3-3 inbreeding and they share a common grandparent, especially that common grandparent being Kinsky. Okay, let's see here. What do we got? Moving down. All right, guys, so I promised I'm going to leave this pedigree. I am going to jump into another pedigree. So this is a paper pedigree. This is a bitch that I recently leased, okay, from a friend of mine to have a litter with because I really liked her pedigree. I really liked her pedigree. And the reason I liked her pedigree is because, you can't do with this pedigree what I just did with that pedigree. Because these dogs aren't famous dogs, for the most part. These dogs are locally known dogs, right? I've been on the scene long enough that I know, either firsthand or secondhand, a bunch of these dogs, okay? So, this is Roxy Von Diandico, and Roxy is the mother of my R litter. Now, this is your typical CKC/AKC pedigree. Axel Von Diandico, okay? That is the father. I don't even... Now, CKC, AKC pedigrees will not show IGP titles. I believe Axel got an IGP 1 or something. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to Google his name. You guys can all do this with any dog. Okay. Now, I am not seeing anything. If he got his one, it was long enough ago that it's not on the internet. A lot of the time you'll see it. Now, here's the thing. I don't need to see XL's sport titles. And the reason why I don't need to see XL's sport titles is because I know a bunch of guys who I trust very much who tell me that he was a hard, strong dog. I also know his handler, know his handler from when he was alive. And his handler is not somebody that is light-handed. A dog, for that gentleman to handle this dog, he had to have been something. If he wasn't something, he wouldn't handle the dog, right? So now, with a paper pedigree, I must Google each individual name, or I must know of the dog. Otherwise, now I'm just completely trusting the breeder. I'm just completely saying, okay, well, I trust you enough that if you're telling me that this is a good combination, I'm going to believe you. So for me, this is a local dog. He's in close proximity to me, or he was in close proximity to me. So this is Roxy's dad, Axel Von Diandico. Heard enough good things about him. Now we've got Tarzan Von Kibitzende. Actually, say it's the same kennel that produced my dog Oh Snap that I just went over her pedigree, right? So Tarzan, famous dog locally, not famous internationally. Big dog, motherfucker of a dog. Strong, intense, dominant, driven, would tear you up under the right circumstances. Really high drive, really hard dog, resilient to pressure, right? He was a son of a famous dog, Javier Von Tacamarda. We can Google Javier. I'm not going to right now, but you can. And then you can go and look at Javier's pedigree and see the dogs that came from there. Now you go down and you see who's XL's mom, Mozart Von Diandico. I don't think she ever did anything, but you look and see who's her dad. Yukon von der Staatsmacht, that psychopath, that was her dad. I'm not going to tell you the story I know about Yukon von der Staatsmacht, again, from people that knew the dog really well, but I am going to look at Yukon von der Staatsmacht's lines. Falk von der Wolfen, okay, very famous dog. Franka von der Staatsmacht, famous dog. Now we go down, we go Caro von Diandico, not famous at all. Cheddar, I never heard of these dogs, but guess what? These dogs are in my old dog's Onyx pedigree, right? And I know Onyx was a motherfucker, and he still is. So now we see here this, like we see a certain type of dog regularly appearing. I don't know every individual, but I know enough of them in here to be like, the top half of Roxy's pedigree is stacked with intense, drivey, hard, dominant dogs that will tear you up if you don't know what you're doing. So we then look at Roxy's mom, Riley Von Diandico. Again, I don't think she did anything. Oh, who's this? Kenzo vom Haus Barkley, I think he got an IGP1. He's not famous internationally, he's famous locally because guess what? I saw this dog when he was first imported here. And big bicolor male, like actually very similar to Chico, like almost identical in his drive behavior, but no control. And again, at the time when he came here, the only training that was really happening around was a lot of the old school training. And Kenzo didn't take kindly to that type of training. And he did send his old handler to the hospital. But my good friend Guy purchased Kenzo, the guy who handled Axel, and ended up putting a title on him and using him for breeding. Right? Now I look, who's Kenzo's daddy? I know Kenzo. Kenzo had extreme drive. Extreme drive. He was socially neutral, and if you put enough pressure on him, he would be willing to come back up the leash at you. Gucci van Esblockhoff? Oh, now Gucci is a producer. Produced a lot of dogs, but Gucci also had a bit of a reputation. Now, I can find video of Gucci if I look. Here's a video of Gucci. He was a notorious dog, right? But this was back in the day. This was 13 years ago, when there was still a lot of testicular fortitude required in training these dogs. And a lot of people looked for a very certain type of dog. There were a lot of handlers that liked the type of dog that would fight with them, right? They wanted a dog that was super strong. But look at this. Look at the intensity there on the out. Let's see. Nice barking. You can hear the intensity in the dog's voice. Let's go ahead. Oh, we're seeing some of that old school training. Man, there's some old-fashioned stuff. You can see the grip of the dog. Let's see if they do a long attack here. Oh, yeah, there's a long attack. Let's see it. There's Gucci. Woo! He was a flyer, and guess what? Kenzo was even faster. Kenzo was even faster, right? So, we now have Kenzo, we got Gucci, we got Opticus Dusty. Again, I can look up these dogs. I don't really know these dogs so well. Fado von der Luther. Fado von der Luther. He had a bit of a reputation too. He was a... Listen, they didn't used to breed dogs unless they were motherfuckers for the most part. Unless they were real dogs, right? We're talking about working dogs here. We're talking about dogs that had to be hard. They had to be willing to fight. They had to be strong. They had to be driven. They had to be intense, right? Otherwise, you know, the big handlers in those days wouldn't keep them and train with them. Because the whole idea was you would go out and compete with the hardest mofo you could compete with. And that was, you know, a big thing back in the day. Things have changed now, obviously. For the better, I don't know. But they have changed. So now we look down at the grandmother, Pina von Diendico. And who do we see? Tarzan von Kibitzende. He appears again. So, you're telling me Roxy is a 3-3 on Tarzan? Very interesting. And therefore a 4-4 on Javier, right? And then, oh, is that Yukon von der Staatsmacht? So now we're 3-4 on Yukon von der Staatsmacht? Or 3-5, I can't remember. No, it would be 3-4. So we got two inbreedings on two really strong, intense dogs. That's a very interesting pedigree. Roxy, by all accounts, is a sweet girl. Roxy is a sweet girl, right? She's a nice bitch. She's not, you know, dangerous. She's not unstable in any way. And guess what? A lot of these dogs weren't either. They were just really strong dogs. And there's a reason. Remember, I speak about this a lot. Using really strong dogs. Using really strong dogs in breeding, because you will very rarely, you can breed Yukon von der Staatsmacht, or Javier von Tacamarda, or Tarzan von, by the way, I owned several sons from Tarzan, and they were all the ones I owned anyways, were really good motherfuckers. I recently sold a dog, Axel von Diendico. It's out there. It's out there on the desk. Yeah. I recently sold a dog Axel from out of Axel. I've had a couple of sons of Axel. So I know firsthand about Axel. I had a couple of sons and daughters of Kenzo, right? I've had dogs personally in my training. I've owned them. I've purchased them. I bought them. I sold them to police. I sold them as protection dogs from a lot of this first 3 generations. So I know about this, and I'm very excited about the pedigree. So I said, yeah, I'm going to lease this bitch, and I'm going to make a breeding with her. And who did I make the breeding with? See, before I do that, this is what you guys need to understand, right? You guys need to understand that if you are just looking at names on a piece of paper, you have to be able to Google these names. Sometimes, you know, if someone made like a video of the dog, the great thing about the internet now is like if I Google Yukon von der Staatsmacht and anyone ever made a video of him and put it up on YouTube, if they used his name, it's going to pop up, right? Gucci von Esblackhoff, exactly. Fado von der Luder. I'm pretty sure I could find video or something that these dogs did if I looked hard enough on the internet, if I didn't know the dogs, right? Or I could be like, there's nothing here. And guess what? This dog was born in 2014. Well, I know the dog didn't do anything because you can't even enter a dog show without it getting posted on the internet. Maybe not the video of the dog show, but a record of your entry would appear and you would be like, okay, well, he went to that CKC show at that time. Oh, look, there's the result. Oh, you know, he got disqualified or whatever else, right? So I always breed. When I'm looking at breedings, I want to see stacked pedigrees, like Roxy's pedigree, like Snap's pedigree. That's what I want to see, okay? Now, I'm going to read the comments quickly because I know a lot of you guys were asking me questions. I hope I'm being like, I hope you guys are getting what I'm saying here. Because it's not so easy for a lot of people. You know, it's like, well, who is this and who is that? Listen, a lot of old videos, that's my old dog, Onyx Von Diandico, right? I bought him when he was 3.5. He had no titles. And you can see here, okay, hips, OFA fair, elbows, OFA normal. All right. And then, believe me, if you YouTube him, because he was my dog, there's tons of videos of him. And you can see the bottom half of his pedigree. Yukon von der Staatsmacht, Tarzan von Kibitzende. Oh, boy, right? And that's, I think these 2 dogs really brought a lot of his quality forward. Top half of Onyx's pedigree, we know, just from first-hand accounts, Grizzly was a motherfucker. He was a really strong dog. I don't know about any of these other dogs, right? I don't know about them. Couldn't find anything on them, right? So to Onyx's pedigree, the top half is missing a lot of information. And you know what? I bred Onyx a fair few times. Gage, my dog currently, is a son of Onyx, right? I bred Onyx a fair few times, and I had some good ones and I had some bad ones from him. And that's the honest truth. And I believe that I would have had better consistency. I had a lot of smaller dogs out of Onyx, even though he wasn't a small dog. Like, he would always throw me some small puppies in the litter. And sometimes he'd throw me a little bit too much nerve in the litter. Sometimes not enough drive, even though he was extremely drivey. Like, he threw his drive to Gage, right? Gage has a ton of drive. But I believe this top part of the pedigree with these unknown dogs where you can't really find anything on them and you don't know really what they did, I believe that that's the reason why he was an inconsistent producer for me, right? So that's just, it is what it is. Like, that's just, you know, that's my opinion on it. Now, when I go, where's Kratos? Where is Kratos? Kratos, where are you? So Roxy is the mother of the R litter, and I bred her to this guy, Kratos. Now, Kratos, I can find videos of Kratos. And Kratos, you can see he's a good-sized dog. This is when he was young. Nice barking, good drive behavior.
Good boy.
See the grip. You can hear the prey and the transition. You can see the grip of the dog. So it's like nice. It's like normal work. Now here's the thing. Kratos was sold because Kratos was too much dog. Kratos is handled by my buddy Francis Cote. And Francis is a very good trainer. And for the first little bit when he was training Kratos, he was wearing a bite suit. Because Kratos is extremely dominant, he's extremely possessive, and he has intense drive, and he has no problem asserting himself in any situation and resorting to doing things that are inappropriate if he doesn't want you to take away something from him, like a sleeve or a ball or something else. He just has extreme drive behavior, right? And he's willing to fight for what he wants. Right? Now, Kratos' brother, who doesn't have that, is actually competing and doing quite well, right? With I believe he's owned by, this is Karina Sweeney's kennel, if I remember correctly. And I've seen videos of Kratos in training, not those videos that are on Working Dog, videos that will not appear ever. And he is a real one. Now you look, Hopper von Breckpedal, Boli Yanaka. Boli's quite famous, right? Leon von der Staatsmacht. You look, Becky von der Schiffslav. Then you look on the bottom line, and you can see, I don't know these dogs so well. I know Blackjack. Blackjack was quite a famous dog, right? But again, I could watch these dogs if I really wanted to. You can see all the bicolors there in the lineage, even though Kratos is sable. So now anyways, guys, you get my idea. Like when you're looking at these pedigrees, this is how you kind of say, oh, HD normal, ED normal. Okay, good to know, right? You can see the health testing. You can see the ZW score, right, for the hips. All right. Let me jump over here and take a look at the comments. I know you guys are asking questions. Okay. My good friend has a Vegas pup. He is an awesome dog with tons of drive and power. Very social. Canine Rex. I have seen and heard of many Vegas pups that the handlers are very happy with. And I've seen them. And if Vegas was closer, I would breed to him. So having a granddaughter is not something I'm upset about. Similar to a Carfax. Exactly, Dylan. Very smart. That is exactly the way you look at it. A lot of people are in a hurry. Oh, that puppy's cute. Let me buy that. And they don't know the pedigree. And usually the pedigree is full of a bunch of unknowns. You can't see the parents' work. They've never seen the parents' work, right? Or they've never seen the parents do the thing that they want the dog to be able to do, right? I'm getting a dog for dock diving. Have the parents done anything? No, they were just pets. Have the grandparents done anything? Well, one of them did junior level agility. Okay, so what makes you think this dog's going to be any good at dock diving? Well, it's a cute puppy and it's the right breed. This is not the way you do it, right? You need to be patient. You need to be smart. You need to look for stacked pedigrees. You need to look for the best chance possible to end up with the type of dog you want. You need to look at those dogs working in person or on video and say, is this the behavior I want in my dog? If it's old school training, even better, because then you can really see what the dog's bringing to the table in spite of the training, not because of the training. Aditya, oh, hey, Chandra, how are you? Aditya asks, with the tool ban in Germany, most of the EU, they do not use tools or train with tools in secret with their club. They certainly do use tools if they want to be competitive or successful. But of course, you will never see them do so on a video, and they will not train like in public with the tools. So that's the reality of it. The sad reality of the tool ban is the real dogs, the strong dogs, the dominant dogs, right? The dogs that are so important for breeding are now being supplanted by more, compliant dogs. And I know a lot of you are like, well, what are you talking about, Haz? I don't want to live with one of these monsters. No, you don't. But they are a necessary product for breeding working dogs. If you want a working dog, if you want a dog that's capable of protecting you, like really protecting you. Like, hey, there's a bear, it's coming, you know, there's no choice. Like, you either got to fight or you got to die. You want the dog that's going to leave you there? You want the dog that's going to go and die for you on that bear? You want the dog that, you know, someone comes into your house with bad intentions, that dog's going to run? You know, you want the dog that when they deploy him from the police car, he runs in the opposite direction, right? You keep breeding those compliant dogs. Compliant dogs. So I just did a puppy testing video. Compliant dogs are great for training in sport. They're great if you don't want to use a lot of pressure in your training because they're more naturally compliant. They're more willing to go along with you. They don't love something enough that they're completely unwilling to give it up, and they're willing to commit violence in order to keep the thing that they want. But that just means they don't want it all that much, and they don't have the heart to really fight for what they want. That's not that very compliant, easygoing dog is fantastic to live with. They're great to train for sport if that's your speed of training, which it is for a lot of modern trainers these days. But they do not pass good qualities over to the offspring. The offspring are generally even softer than them, even more compliant and weak than them. A lot of times compliant dogs are compliant because they're a little bit insecure. My wife's Chihuahua is a fantastic example of this. She will never leave my wife. She's never been trained a day in her life. That bitch will walk next to my wife anywhere in public, and she will never not come back to her because the world is a scary place for her. You won't ask. Like, she doesn't walk around with her tail tucked up her behind or anything like that, but she's a little worried about people, and she's a little worried about environmentals, and she knows that my wife is the solution to all of her worries. So guess what she does? She stays close to my wife. She always orbits around my wife. She never gets too far from her, no matter where they are. She can put her down on the sidewalk and walk her anywhere in the most busy metropolitan area ever, and she would never leave my wife. Not because my wife trained her, but because she's a little nervous, and she deals with that nervousness by clinging close to her human for protection. And there's a lot of dogs like this, to greater and lesser degrees. Will breeding and sport in North America ever reach the levels of magnitude and craze in Europe? It's going to surpass. It already has surpassed, quite frankly. You know, when I bought that dog Mace, right? I said, why are you guys selling this dog? I like him. He's a really nice dog. Like, are there nicer dogs? For sure there are, but he was a really nice, strong dog. And you know what the vendor told me? He said, people don't want these types of dogs anymore. They cannot train them. They can't legally train them anyways, with all the tool bans and stuff like that. You get chewed up doing old school stuff with a dog like that. You need all your tools to train a dog like that. The tools were invented because guys got tired of getting sent to the hospital, right? The tools make things easier. It's like you could train a horse with a stick and a piece of rope, or you can use all the tools that we have now to train horses, right? You can do it both ways. One's a lot easier. One expedites the process a lot more. One's a lot clearer and simpler for the horse and safer for the rider. It's the same with dog training. Okay, hey Haz, elite member from... Okay, you know what? I'm going to address this. What is the difference between line breeding and inbreeding? So I already kind of talked about it. Why line breeding's good, why excessively line breeding or line breeding on the wrong individuals would be bad. But what you want to do with line breeding is you set type, right? Inbreeding, you set type, and then you go add an outcross, bring in their genetics, and then you go tight again. And you add an outcross, and then you go tight again, right? And that's what you want to see in a breeding program, right? So there are certain line breedings that I'm very attracted to. I like very much. And I like tight inbreedings as long as they're done on the right individuals. Because those puppies, those dogs, when they grow up, they tend to be very prepotent. And prepotent means when they breed, they throw a more concentrated version of themselves versus the dog that's more scatterbred, right? It's like, what is the scatterbred dog picking up? Like, can you get a really nice scatterbred dog? 100%. I see them all the time. But when you get a line breed dog, you know the traits you're really getting in there. You know the genetic traits that dog carries and that dog will most likely pass. Scatterbred dog, you don't know, right? Stuart, hey, has elite member from the UK with the off-leash Frenchies. Oh, awesome. You're doing a good job. Just going to my IGP club for the first time this weekend. With my new 7-month-old female German Shepherd, she is certainly fun. Great. Good luck to you, sir. Does the female determine the size of the pups? No. No. Again, you'll see some dogs, like Vegas, for instance, throws size. A lot of his puppies are large. Knox vom Tollhaus throws size. A lot of his puppies are large. A dog that I have puppies from right now, and I've had puppies from in the past, local dog, Vito vom Waltferder Wald, who is a son of Cody vom Wilsried, right? He throws big puppies, and he's a big dog himself. He throws big, social, drivey puppies. It seems like he regularly throws those puppies with a variety of females that he's bred to. So it's not necessarily the female. Why would you not do training at 7 months? I would train at any age. Oh, you're responding to a question. I just got a 7-month-old German Shepherd female. I'm waiting for training per the breeder, but she has no off switch. Seems to have a short. I start training right at 8 weeks, and off switch basically means your dog isn't sleeping. You know, like your dog's not lying around. Well, yeah, you got a working line dog. You must teach them to do this. They have a lot of energy. They generally have a lot of gas in the tank, right? So you must teach them. You must use containment systems to create situations that the dog understands that he or she must control herself in the house. A lot of people just let them run loose in the house all the time. I actually like German Shepherds a lot because they're a lot less neurotic than Malinois, and they're a lot easier to handle and deal with, especially in home situations. Take my elite off leash course, and you can certainly start that with a dog, that's like 6 months old. Take my elite off leash course, put all the functional obedience on her. There's no reason that you would ever wait, with a 7-month-old dog to teach them like basics, like come, don't drag me around on the leash, go in place, behave in the house, crate training, all of that stuff. Mutts are healthier, scientifically proven, because they have more genetic diversity. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. But if you want a mutt, you go right ahead. My boxer lab mutt had degenerative DM passed down from the boxer and lab sides. So all mutts are not healthier. Yeah, no, I've seen so many sick mutts with so many issues that I know it's horseshit. So I've seen enough dogs where I've seen the purebred dogs and I've seen the mutts, and by far the mutts actually had more physical and mental issues than the purebred dogs. Go figure. Bolyanaka equals Yaxie's grandfather. Yeah, it was Yaxie's grandfather. Let's see what else we have here. How did you know it was the sire and not the dam who was the inconsistent producer? Because I bred the sire to many females. And I saw a spread of puppies. And once you breed a male to multiple females, you're able to see commonalities across the litters despite the female that he may have bred with. And you'd be like, yeah, he throws this, and he throws this. This is from him. And because I know the sire intimately, I can identify the behaviors I see in the oh, this is your daddy. Your daddy does this. Your daddy looks like this, or your daddy has this physical thing. And that's why you're like this, right? Does size matter in terms of a dog performance, or is it just a preference? I mean, it matters in that you don't want excessively small dogs and you don't want excessively large dogs. Like the dog I just mentioned, Vito von Waltferder Wald. Let's see if I can find him on here. Vito. There you are. Really nice dog, His daddy, Cody von Wilsried, Buchan von Perro, Lennox von Ferntal, remember that name. Blackjack, remember that name. Then you look at the mother line. Icon, okay? Karn von Fiegelhaus, that was the motherfucker. Lucky von Schmeigart, like, you can see, right? So, this dog is a big boy, social boy. I have puppies from him right now in my kennel. Very happy with them. Very, very happy with them. I would use him again in a heartbeat. Let's see here. What is your opinion on breeding based on results? Well, you must breed based on results. I'll tell you what. I just did a breeding a couple weeks ago. I bred my dog, Swamp von der Sinberg. Swamp von der Sinberg. This is my female that I have. I bred this little bitch, who is a nice female, right? You can see she has some inbreeding, but it's like a 5'4", so it's farther back. Doesn't really matter so much, right? Her father, Elk von Daschel, you can look him up. You know, he's a relative. Like, you can find shit on, like, you can find stuff that he did. She's a nice, drivey female, very social, very environmentally sound. Like, she's not nervous about anything. She doesn't have social nerves. She has really nice ball drive. She has nice grips, nice speed, right? Then you look on the mother line. Oh, Kinsky. My good friend Kinsky. He's back. You can see now where my breeding program is going. I'm thinking years in advance here. I got Kinsky on Swamp, okay? I got Kinsky here, okay? Now I have another puppy that's line bred on Kinsky, a female that's line bred on Kinsky. And then I believe I have another dog who is a granddaughter of Kinsky. Then I've got some more stuff that I've got in the works. I got Swamp von der Simberg, and I bred her too. Yarrow. This was 2 weeks ago I did this breeding, okay? Yarrow is a half-sister, half-brother, not sister. They wouldn't be able to breed if he was. Owned by my buddy Anley. Yarrow is a half-brother to Bang, okay? So I know all about Bang. I've been raising that bitch for the last year. But he has a really interesting daddy, Zoltan von Perot, who's an Errico von Wolfsheim's son. Okay, Zoltan, very famous dog, bred many times, okay? Now, you look at the mother line, Nitra. Okay, we've already gone over Nitra. Hercules' daughter, Chris Spodlazov, Debbie, Quartus. Man, look at this pedigree. So we got Yarrow von Eisenkrautz. So he is a very interesting dog. I don't think he actually has any line breeding, does he? Does he have line breeding? I don't know. Yarrow is an example of a dog, for me, like, he doesn't have extreme drive behavior, but he has such a stacked pedigree, and I'm so familiar with the pedigree, and he's DM clear, okay? And I bred him to, like I said, Swamp von der Sinberg. And when you look at the pedigrees, you're like, oh man, you know, that's a very interesting outcross. Right? It's an outcross. There's no common ancestors as far as I can recall in the first 5 generations. Right? So it is an outcross. But we're breeding type to type. He is a specific type of dog. She is a specific type of dog. I'm expecting extremely social, extremely stable, extremely driven dogs with nice grips. So fundamentally, dogs for police and dogs for my protection program. Dogs that if I sell as pets, might get a little excited, but won't really ever be that motherfucker of a dog. That's what I'm expecting. Now, I could end up with a few real killers in the group, but it's very unlikely with the type of dog that he is. And then you go into this pedigree and you're like, yeah, there's some mofos in the back. But up front, you know, I know what type of dog Yarrow is, and I know what type of dog Swamp is, right? And again, there are some mofos in the back, so it's possible that the mofos in the back are going to come to the front, but they're in the back a little bit more than with some of the other pedigrees I was showing you, right? So that's a type-to-type breeding. Plus, I want Yarrow, I want his blood down the road. So I'm going to keep a puppy back from this, like a female or two from this, right? I want his blood, I want Zoltan, and I want Hercules, right? And now I'm going to have it from a puppy that I keep from this breeding, and then I have it from Bang, and any puppies I keep from Bang. So now I'm preserving that blood. And now I'm going to be able to do line breedings down the road on Nitra. I'm going to line breed on Nitra down the road. I'm going to line breed maybe on Zoltan down the road, right? You guys see, you better believe I'm going to line breed again on Kinsky, So you see how you think in the future, and you want to see a commonality in the type of dogs that you've got. What do you say about epigenetic changes, changes in DNA throughout the dog's lifetime? I believe in them. I've seen it. I've seen epigenetic changes. So I know it's true. I know it's true. That's why I believe the female should always be happy that you're using in the breeding. She should be happy. She should be working, or she should be living like a very happy, like pet dog life. Miserable. Like I once had a group of female, like I used to keep all my bitches together and I would go out with them all the time. And what I found was I had one bitch in the group who produced very well for me in the first litter. The first breeding was very nice breeding. But of all my females, socially, she was the weakest in terms of like in the pecking order. And they all picked on her. And she, like after a year, she was not very happy. She was like always flinchy and miserable around the other bitches. And we would do stuff all the time, like group walks and stuff like this. And like, listen, man, like working line bitches, especially if they have a little spice to them, they are ruthless. And, you know, she was a little weak and they picked on her. And I noticed that the next puppies in the next litter even though it was the exact same breeding, were significantly worse than the first litter. I bred her a third time, same. And I said, after that, I will never allow another situation like this. If I see like a female's not happy in the kennel, or she's not happy in like in the social group of females, then I'm not going to breed her. Can you mention 3 old school dog names you like the most? I don't know dog names. I don't really like I don't have I don't really have like special like names that I like. I always just like name dogs like whatever I feel like naming them in the moment. I had a look at 2 of my girls from different breeders in Australia. They both have Quartus von der Staatsmark. Yeah, he was a very famous dog, bred like thousands of times. I think he lived till he was like, he might even still be alive, like 15 years old or something. Seeing Wilco von Kibitzende work, he is a great dog. Very pleased, and I love that in my girl. Can you mention... Okay, sorry, I already read that. I definitely have been using the crate. Good. Genetic diversity also means bad from both sides. Exactly. And there's more scatter in the breeding. It's not consistent, right? Why did I want to become a trainer? Because I'm interested in dogs and I really enjoy training dogs. I was interested in dogs and dog behavior. And then I started training and I found it extremely interesting. So, Maddie, I'm not going to answer your question because you just told me you want to breed an American Staffordshire Terrier to a Dalmatian. That's the dumbest shit I ever heard. I will not be part of that. Is there a waiting list on Swamp's puppies? Yeah, we're starting a waiting list. I haven't really even announced the litter. This is the first time I mentioned it. Let's see here. Not very interested in German Shepherds. I'm training my Rottweiler. Keep it up. The whole point of this is not German Shepherds. The whole point of this is you see how I look at pedigrees and you don't go, oh, is this a good breed? No. Stop. Like, you know how many times I see people post their dog's pedigree on Facebook and then let a bunch of idiots that don't work dogs and don't know anything about dogs evaluate it? Go look for yourself. Get that information, or talk to the breeder, or talk to the breeder of the parents of the dog and see what they have to say about the dog. Let them tell you. And in this day and age, usually there's video of these dogs. You can see them for yourself as if you were there on the competition day. I have a Chris Spodlazov and Henrik von Wolfsheim bitch. She's a nice dog. Is antisocial but neutral. Cool. As a new breeder starting with no kennels. Damn it. No kennel and facility. How do I do this? There we go. How would you recommend someone with a strong dog start breeding? With strong dogs start breeding. I would say if you don't train, you don't know if your dogs are strong. I've seen so many people claim they have great dogs and they want to breed, but they don't really train and they don't know. They're not able to really look at the dog and be like, yeah, this dog is breed worthy. You know, if you don't train, you don't know, right? Fundamentally. When we're talking about working dogs anyways. If you're breeding pet dogs or duck diving dogs or whatever else, and you're doing that, then I guess you would know. But when it comes to, you know, what you want to look for in pedigrees is depth, where you see the same quality and type generally coming forward. If you don't see that, it's not good, right? It means, oh, we're rolling the dice even more than we normally are when we do a breeding, and we're just hoping things work out, right? So I would say that. As to a facility, you don't need a facility. Most people breed in their house. They have a room they set aside for whelping. I have a kennel facility here. I don't like whelping puppies here. I will say, I have a girl that I do a lot of whelping with. She whelps the puppies for me. I send the bitch there before she drops the puppies, and she drops the puppies in the house with that lady, and she looks after them all the way up until they're like 7-8 weeks old. Then they come here, right? IGP is more than what meets the eyes. Once you start understanding dogs, you see what value that sport has. 100%. It is more than meets the eye. But you have to know what you're looking at. A lot of people don't, right? You're elite member from the UK. Your elite off-leash course. Thanks so much. I'm a dog groomer. I've definitely seen the worst of genetic diversity. I bet you have. Were you happy with the puppies from Onyx's last litter? Man, that was years ago, so I don't even remember it, to be honest with you. I bred that dog a fair few times. What was his last litter? His last litter might have been with Cece, Venticina Sopka. So I bred him with a bitch that I imported from Europe that had an IGP2, incidentally. And it was inconsistent. Again, it was an inconsistent litter, but I had bred that bitch to another male before. So Onyx wasn't the first male I bred her to. And that Onyx's litter honestly was better than the other male. The other male had a really stacked pedigree. This litter, I mean, there was some duds in the litter, but then there was a couple of like decent dogs in the litter, nothing like phenomenal. So yeah, he was really hit or miss. All right. Does anyone else have any more questions on pedigree reading? I will say this, guys. So, like, let's talk briefly about titles. You'll see a lot of breeders that produce absolute trash with titles. They're like, all the dogs have IPO1, IGP1, whatever. The titles aren't necessarily an indication of quality. Now, if you see, okay, look at Kinsky here, for instance. Schutzen 3, IPO 3. He competed at the BSP 5 times at the BSP. God damn. Now, you know he was good if he went 5 times to the BSP. Sid von Pixner. He was at the BSP and he was at the LGA. God, okay. Cora von Berg. Okay, she was 2 times BSP. All right, like LGA core, like you can see here, right? And then down up here, you start to get into, oh, we don't know who these dogs are, right? So when you can see big competitions or certain handlers, like this dog was in the BSP, certain handlers, you know, then you're like, okay, this dog was because I know that dude does not mess with anything that is less than excellent. So it must have been a good dog for that guy to breed with, for that guy to train that dog. But IPO3, IPO1 doesn't actually, you know how many dogs that are just dumpster fires I've seen drag through an IPO1 title? It's not a particularly huge accomplishment. And it isn't a significant, indication of breed worthiness. You must see the dogs. So if someone said, look, Cass, this, I bred Magnum V Schwarzenegger, I'll be like, well, I don't know what the freaking hell Magnum is. You know, like, who is Magnum? So then I'd look him up, and I'd be like, all right, who's Magnum? Schwarzenegger. right? And I would be like, I want to see him work, and then I'll tell you if he's good, right? And if you aren't an expert at looking at dogs work, right? If you aren't an expert at looking at dogs work, right? Then, oh look, is this Magnum? Yes, it is. Long bite. Oh, he was on Team Canada. I don't know the handler. Let's see it. Da, 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 da. Let's go. Let's see it. Okay. It was a decent long bite. It was like obviously you can hear the crowd, right? They don't clap for everybody, right? It was a good long bite. I've seen faster dogs. He slowed down a bit. Could be a little bit training there, right? But he didn't slow down that much, and he entered with a big, firm, hard grip. Let's see how he withstands the drive here. Bad on the transition on the out. But you can hear it. Okay. He made the world team. He was a decent dog. Oof. He really hit the helper there in the re-attack. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. All right, so you can get an idea, right? I'll be like, okay, nothing that makes me particularly concerned in that video. I would need to see more, though. If I didn't know anything about these dogs, I'd be like, well, I need to see some more of these dogs. I need to see these dogs doing a little more, right? That's what I would do, right? Now, when you look, right, and you see these dogs and you're like, okay, well, this dog clearly, you know, I'm seeing a consistency in the behavior across the entire pedigree. Well, then you know, okay, this is a pretty good opportunity for me. Now, listen, if you don't know anything, here's the other thing. You need to trust your breeder. You need to trust your breeder. If you don't trust your breeder, you have no business buying from them, right? You need to have done your own, like, personal vetting. So it's whether you know, you're like, okay, I believe in this guy or girl. I believe in what they're doing. I don't believe that they would put dogs together just to put dogs together. And I believe they're going to stand behind their dogs. If something goes wrong, you don't want to know, guys. I'm not going to name names right now. You don't want to know how many times I've bought puppies, because I bought a lot of puppies over the last 15 years or so. Because I buy puppies all the time on speculation. And let's say the puppy ended up having a bad elbow, or the puppy ended up having some genetic defect or something that became apparent as they grew up. How many times breeders' health guarantees aren't worth the paper they're written on, right? How many times? I can't tell you how many times. You need to have someone that you trust. You need to have someone who's very clear with you on what could be produced in the litter, and who's also able to be like, okay, look, yeah, I know you like the working dogs, but really, you really just want a pet, and you might go out to your local club once in a while and do a little bit of work, but you're not serious about this. You don't need a Nitra or a Zoltan or a Hercules. That dog's not for you. You need a more compliant, easygoing dog with a little bit of drive, but not too much, so that you can spend most of your time chilling at the house and going for walks, you know, and going to the local fair and all that stuff that you want to do with the dog. You don't need that big, that King Kong energy, right? It's not good for you. I am certain you will be able to fix vocalizing, but Vegas has produced some serious vocalizers. My good friend's out of Vegas, and when he gets on the field, he's loud. Yeah, listen, dogs that vocalize, yes, there's a genetic there's a genetic perspective there. There's a genetic aspect to vocalization, but fundamentally, vocalization happens in high drive dogs that are frustrated, and they've never been given, they've never been taught to channel properly their drive into behaviors. So for me, vocalizations, like I've had dogs vocalize on me in training a whole hell of a lot, and then sometimes I'll allow it because sometimes it is productive actually, but you need to be able to shut the dog up, and that's not really a genetic thing. It's like I don't have, as you mentioned, I will not have a problem making a dog be quiet. He will be quiet, right? But a lot of the time vocalization is just the dog expressing his drive. right? He's expressing his power, and the Vegas dogs all have a big gas tank. They're all drivey, intense dogs. They want to go, 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 and you're generally not going fast enough for them. Let's see what else we got here. What does Chico's pedigree look like? And was there something in his pedigree that caught your attention? Well, Chico was brought to my attention. Let's see if we can find him here. I can't, actually, because I just put him on Working Dog, but he isn't there yet. So Chico was brought to my attention by some friends that knew him. Let's find him. He was brought to my attention by some friends that knew him and knew he was available, and they told me he was a really good dog. So then I looked at the pedigree. And when I looked at Chico's pedigree, I said, oh, goddamn, Pepper vom Kap Karthago son, Denoso vom Eisenkraut's grandson, Quartas von der Staatsmacht, Leon von der Staatsmacht. You guys see where my breeding program is going. I like the Staatsmacht dogs. I like using them as part of the thing, right? So that's the top line. The bottom line's all local dogs for a while. Okay, Saki von Kaltenbach, never met her, didn't know her. You could see some video of her. It was like, okay, it was like decent video, but it wasn't like, you could see she has a lot of prey drive in the video, and you could see where Chico gets his looks from is his mother, Saki von Kaltenbach, right? But let me talk about, let's see if I can find a little thing on Saki. So you can see, look, like she's like a female version of Chico, right? This is Chico. Like, it is Chico. You know what I mean? You can see where he really got his looks from his mommy, right? I saw some video of her on YouTube, and it was not surprising. Like, the training wasn't very good, but, like, the prey behavior, you could see, like, the same prey behavior Chico has, right? Very consistent prey behavior. So now you look. Pepper, I have had a son of Pepper before. I know the intensity Pepper brings. I know the drive Pepper has. I know the thresholds Pepper brings, because I've had a son from his before, and the grips that Pepper brings, and Chico's got the Pepper grips too. So now Saki's father, Ivo von der Dallenberg Hood, he was a dog that was bred quite a bit in Canada, owned by Jürgen Fischer, and I'm familiar with Ivo. I saw him compete a few times. He was a good dog, right? Alpha von Hexensteig, really good dog. Like, I saw her a few times compete, and I said, oh, goddamn, that's a nice bitch. Nice female, right? So the mother line I'm familiar with, and I think they're good dogs. And they're a little bit not as common, right? Like, they're not like, what's the word? They're not like a fatty type line. Like, you're not going to see a lot of those lines. So it's nice. It's bringing a little bit of outcross in the line, but then you've got Pepper, which is, there's a lot of Pepper dogs and there's a lot of Denoso dogs out there. So he's got a mix of kind of like some stuff that you don't hear about so much, but they're still good things because I know the dogs. And then you've got, so Ivo was used a lot. He was a really nice dog. You could see all the things he was involved in. Let's see if there's any training from Ivo, however they said it. So this is his grandfather on his mother's side. Man, that's terrible quality here. Let's see the barking. So you can hear the barking. This is Chico's, very similar to Chico's barking. And you can hear in the barking, snap in the barking, prey frustration, right? Chico barks exactly like this. Let's go ahead to the escape. See the escape. I think that's Anthony. I could be wrong though. You got Jürgen over there handling Evo. Nice escape. Good transition. See, there's the long attack. Where's the long attack? There it is. Let's see it. Wow, it's like a horror movie out there. Terrible like I can't see it because it's so laggy, right? It's like poor quality. It looked like a decent long attack, right? So Yeah, like Chico had a nice pedigree. I know I've seen puppies from Evo. I know I've always used a lot. Alpha, I know she produced well. So like this bottom line here is interesting for me because I know they're producers even though they're not very well known. And then the top line, like I said, man, we got Leon, we got Denoso, we got Pepper. Like it's a wrap, baby. Like, and I know that Chico's a producer. I know it. I have a daughter from Chaos that she's about a year old, and she's exactly like a female version of Chico. So I'm real excited to use Chico in breeding. And Chico's a hard dog too. He's not just a prey dog. He's a hard dog with extreme prey drive. He's a dominant dog. He's a dog, man. He's like a more old school type dog without being really malicious, you know? So I really like Chico. Let's see here. Is the stick for distraction? No, the stick is for pressure. How would you go about making an extremely shy and non-confident dog sure of himself and not always scared? Well, you're not going to be able to change who he is fundamentally, but what you are going to be able to do is, you know, get that dog out, expose him, and teach him to function past his fear, right? Dogs that are always scared are dogs that haven't been pushed to deal with their fear. The fear is there. Like a lot of trainers make the mistake of trying to like, oh, let me change his emotion and change his fear. It's like you can't change his fear. His fear is genetic. It's inside of him. When the sperm met the egg, the fear is there, right? And the fear will never leave there. There's no amount of liver treats and cute scientific words you can use to get rid of that fear. But what you can do is you can say, oh, I know you're scared of things. I know things worry you, but I'm going to teach you to function past this emotion, this insecurity you have, and be productive. We are going to go for a walk down the street. You're not going to be able to run away or just quit walking because something scared you. We're going to get through this. And the more you show the dog how to get past the emotion, the less the emotion controls them and the less they're all, you know, about the emotion. The best way to think about it is for, you know, I don't know if any of you guys caught the recent Joe Rogan where he's talking to Abigail Shire or something like that. I was watching this. And she said, hey, you know, therapy is probably not very good for you, according to whatever studies or surveys she did, because it turns out that talking about things that, you know, were bad and that happened and focusing on bad things and talking about them over and over again and thinking about them over and over again tend to not be all that productive. And it's the same with a fearful dog, right? A lot of people let the dog marinate in fear and they want to, you know, they want to kind of like they think that they're going to like affection the dog out of being afraid or talk to them. You know how many times I've seen people try and talk to their dog, right? It's like the dog's scared shitless and they're trying to have a conversation and shove liver treats in its mouth. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me. Instead of saying, let's focus on what you can do and let's not focus on the fact that you're scared. Let's push you through this. Let's focus on things that are productive, right? So when you're training a dog and the dog is a fearful dog, which we train here all the time, we focus on the productive things and teaching the dog to be productive in spite of the emotion of fear. That is the key to success with a fearful dog. Any advice on ways to reinforce the place command? Yeah, you must reinforce it negatively. Fundamentally, place fails for people because there's no consequence for the dog coming off place. That's why the dog doesn't stay on place. You want your dog to stay on place, make a consequence for him coming off, then he'll stay on, right? Could you do an updated video on ideal dog weight? Ideal dog weight obviously changes depending on the type of dog you have, but, you know, a little rib is good. You know, this picture of Pepper is actually a very good picture, right? You could see some rib. You could see a nice tuck in the midsection. If you looked at him from the top down, you would see, you would see his rib cage, but you won't see the hip bones protruding. You won't see the spine protruding. That's generally a sign that the dog's a little bit too skinny, right? But I'd rather have too skinny than too fat. Too fat is very rarely ever a good thing. Hillary, good to see you in here. Have a Shield Canine puppy with a Freedom Package. We have our BH and are working towards our IGP. Couldn't be happier with our amazing versatile dog. He's super social, very stable, great. Awesome, Hillary. Glad you're still having fun with that guy. Do you have any tips for first-time training, getting into dog sports, getting my first working dog here? Yeah, first of all, start with a good dog, Jason. You know, if you have a dog that like doesn't really want to do the work, doesn't have the drive for the work, and you're trying to do it, it can be very frustrating. Start with a car that's meant to race if you want to be a race car driver. You know what I'm saying? So it's important to start with the right dog, and then you got to find either the right training group. You know, the problem with working with a lot of working dog clubs, right? Like IGP clubs and such, I find that they're not very productive places. You spend like a long time there and you don't really get a lot out of it from a training perspective. I'm a big fan of either online training or training with a mentor that actually has been there and done that, like can actually coach you to getting the titles with your dog. That's what I would strongly recommend. What would be some red flags you would avoid in a pedigree? There are some dogs that I know of, you know, I won't say them, but like there are some dogs that I know of that if I see them in a pedigree, I steer clear because I know that dog either passes health issues or that dog was a nerve bag, you know, and that's just because people I trusted told me or I actually saw the dog. When you see a long pedigree of like dogs that you don't know who they are, so let's say here, look, I know these dogs, but I've seen pedigrees like this where it's like, I didn't know any of these dogs and like they all had like random kennel names, no one knew them. And like you would see like famous dogs in the back, but then like all these no-name dogs in the front. And like the no-name dogs like never did anything. Maybe like one of them got an IPO1 in like 3 generations. And like no one knows the dogs, you can't see any working. That for me is red flag. Is the breeder actually doing anything? Does the breeder do things? Is the breeder known for doing things? Right? No? Well, red flag. Yeah, I know the great-grandfather was famous, but I guarantee you these last 3 generations were probably compliant, nervy dogs, you know, that had pretty colors in their on their coat, and that's why the breedings occurred, right? So for me, like that would be. There's a lot of people that breed for color. There's a lot of people that breed just to breed, and they don't really know what they're doing. They don't work. They don't train. They have no business breeding. And, you know, that's the fundamentals. And then the flip side, you'll see people running from, you know, they have like, you know, some half-ass female, and maybe she has a decent pedigree, but she's just not very good. And they just try to find famous males to put her to, right? Like Pepper, because they know that the famous male is going to sell the litter. But again, the breeder doesn't do anything and the female is known for being weak, right? These are like breedings I avoid. I hear a lot of people saying the bitch is more important than the sire. Can you expand on why? She isn't. She isn't, Ariana. I know that's like the most popular thing to say. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, she isn't. But if she has a shit pedigree and she's not a good dog, she's going to screw up your breeding. I don't care what male you breed her to, right? And if she, you know, is a fantastic dog with a really deep pedigree, like my girl Roxy here, right? This pedigree, you can put this dog to just about any male as long as the male's half decent. You're going to get something good. Like there's just so much here, and there's line breeding in this pedigree, right? So, you know, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that deep pedigree, right? That the bitch should bring forward. If the bitch is like kind of like no name and it's a scatterbred pedigree and no one knows the dogs, then it's kind of like, I don't know what she's going to bring, right? But this idea, you know, how many times I've seen like a good dog produce with like a substandard female and actually make nice puppies with her, right? I've seen it both ways. And then there's some bitches, you can breed them to just about anything and they'll produce nice. So, you know, I've seen it both ways. It's one of these things that's like everybody likes to say it. And fundamentally what it means is this, right? A lot of people place all the value in the male. Well, that's this Pepper, he's so famous, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter what I breed to him, we're going to have some good puppies. And it's like, no, that's not the case. If you breed a female that is a nervous wreck to Pepper, you're going to get nervous wreck puppies that may have nice driving grips, but will fundamentally be nervous wrecks, and they'll never be complete dogs. They'll never be very good dogs, right? And then there's just some females, even with nice pedigree, and the female's all right herself, she just doesn't produce for whatever reason. Was there ever a litter that you had that you sold but wished you would have kept one of the puppies after seeing it grown? There's been multiple times I've sold puppies and they've come back and I've said, God damn, that's a nice puppy. I would like that puppy. Can you speak to the KMPV titled dogs such as Bob? No, I'm not familiar with a lot of KMPV dogs. Like, you know, I buy Dutch dogs, but I'm not like super up on all their pedigrees. What line breeding connections do you look for when pairing a dog and bitch? Well, if there's a line breeding in the pedigree, let's say I bred a female that was a granddaughter of Pepper to Chico. So now that's going to be, I believe, 3-2. Is it 3-2 or 4-2? 4-2 on Pepper. Well, that would be desirable line breeding. But then let's say I did a breeding and all of a sudden it was going to be, I don't know, 2-1 on Saki vom Keltenbach. Well, I don't know enough about Saki to want to do a line breeding on her. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things, right? I would want to know, right? Like I need to really know and like the dog to want a line breeding on that dog. That's fundamentally it. What's your opinion on bitches bonding better with male owners and males bonding better with female owners? It's bullshit. Generally, females are more compliant because it turns out testosterone matters, right? So females are more compliant. If you're a new handler and you want like a dog that's going to be a little bit more ease, a little more compliant, and you're like looking at a real fire breeding, I would suggest you take a female. If you're not a new handler and, you're looking for a stronger type dog, a more resilient type dog, a dog that maybe is going to be a little bit more of a hard charger, get a male. Males are generally better, right? Because testosterone matters. I don't know why people don't understand that at this point in time. All right, guys. I think we've gone long enough. Thank you for watching. I hope some of you learned something. Make sure you like the video if you haven't already liked it. And I'm going to be dropping a really cool video where I go through the recent breeding that I did, my R litter, and I talk about the different puppies in the litter, and I talk also about why I did the breeding. I kind of already touched on it today a little bit, and I talk about, I actually test some of the puppies and go through some of my testing and what the testing tells me about the puppies and where they'll be eventually. I think it's very good stuff. So that's going to be coming out shortly. I might release that video tonight or I might release it tomorrow. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching. Make sure you like this video. And I'll see you on the next one.